Keller limited himself to monosyllables en route to the airport and gave the driver a tip neither large nor small enough to be memorable. He walked through the door for departing flights, took an escalator one flight down, and a bubbly girl at the Hertz counter found his reservation right away. He showed her a driver's license and a credit card, both in the same name, one that was neither J.P. Keller nor Nicholas Edwards. They were good enough to get him the keys to a green Subaru hatchback, and in due course he was behind the wheel and on his way. The house he was looking for was on Caruth Boulevard, in the University Park section. He'd located it online and printed out a map, and he found it now with no trouble. One of a whole block of upscale Spanish-style homes on substantial landscaped lots not far from the Southern Methodist campus. Sculpted stucco walls, a red tile roof, an attached three-car garage. You'd think a family could be very happy in a house like that, Keller thought. But in the present instance you'd be wrong, because the place was home to Charles and Portia Walmsley, and neither of them could be happy until the other was dead. Keller slowed down as he passed the house, then circled the block for another look at it. Was anyone at home? As far as he could see, there was no way to tell. Charles Walmsley had moved out a few weeks earlier, and Portia shared the house with the Salvadoran housekeeper. Keller hadn't learned the housekeeper's name, or that of the man who was a frequent overnight guest of Mrs. Walmsley, but he'd been told that the man drove a Lexus SUV. Keller didn't see it in the driveway, but he couldn't be sure it wasn't in the garage. "The man drives an SUV," Dot had said, "and he once played football for TCU. I know what an SUV is, but—" "Texas Christian University," Keller supplied, "in Fort Worth. I thought that might be it. Do they have something to do with horny frogs?" "Horned Frogs. That's their football team, the Horned Frogs. They're arch rivals of SMU. That would be Southern Methodist." "Right. They're the Mustangs." "Frogs and Mustangs. How do you know all this crap, Keller? Don't tell me it's on a stamp. Never mind, it's not important. What's important is that something permanent happens to Mrs. Walmsley. And it would be good if something happened to the boyfriend, too." "It would?" "He'll pay a bonus." "A bonus? What kind of bonus?" "Unspecified, which makes it tricky to know what to expect, let alone collect it. And he'll double the bonus if they nail the boyfriend for the wife's murder. But when you double an unspecified number, what have you got? 2 times what?" Keller drove past the Walmsley house a second time, and didn't learn anything new in the process. He consulted his map, figured out his route, and left the Subaru in a parking garage 3 blocks from the Lombardy. In his room, he picked up the phone to call Julia, then remembered what hotels charge you for phone calls. Charles Walmsley was paying top dollar, bonus or no, but making a call from a hotel room was like burning the money in the street. He used his cell phone instead, first making sure it was the iPhone Julia had given him for his birthday and not the prepaid one he used only for calls to Dot. The hotel room was okay, he told her, and he'd had a good look at the stamps he was interested in, and that was always helpful. And she put Jenny on, and he cooed to his daughter, and she babbled at him. He told her he loved her, and when Julia came back on the phone, he told her the same. Portia Walmsley didn't have any children. Her husband did from a previous marriage, but they lived with their mother across the Red River in Oklahoma. So there wouldn't be any kids to worry about in the house on Caruth Boulevard. As far as the Salvadoran maid was concerned, Dot had told him the client didn't care one way or the other. He wasn't paying a bonus for her, that was for sure. He'd pointed out that she was an illegal immigrant, and Keller wondered what that had to do with anything. That first night, he hadn't called Dot back right away. First, he and Julia had tucked Jenny in for the night, or for as much of it as the child would sleep through. Then the two of them sat over coffee in the kitchen, and he mentioned that Donnie had called earlier, not because some work had come in, but on the chance that he might want to go fishing. "But you didn't want to go?" He shook his head. "Neither did Donnie."